Welcome to EPG Pathshala. Welcome to the paper of mobile computing. Our today's lecture is an introductory lecture in this paper of mobile computing. So, what is mobile computing? Before understanding the term mobile computing, let us see the developments which have led to the development of this technology. They say nothing is constant in this world other than the change. A human mankind has also experienced a lot of changes since the old stone age. Of all the factors contributing to this change, the most important is the advent of computers. Computers made our life very simple. Knowledge got coded in the form of information, intelligence and logic got documented in the form of programs and algorithms. But we know that man is a social animal. Humans are social, they want to collaborate, they want to share, they want to cooperate. For this purpose, the computers also needed to be interconnected locally and globally. Internet was conceived. Now, this IT industry to collaborate globally needed telecommunication industry as the backbone. So, the IT industry and the telecommunication industry collaborated, and this convergence led to the development of technology very well known as information and communication technology or ICT. Moreover, this technology started getting ambitious. The transmission became wireless. Mobility got redefined because they say when you are not tied up, you are free. Since the transmission was wireless, the devices started becoming portable. Mobility got redefined. Devices were mobile, users are mobile. Networks are mobile, so is the information. Bearers are mobile, so is the role of mobile devices. Right? They are host, at the same time they are servers. The diversified devices like laptops, phones, fixed computers got synchronized among themselves and they were empowered with the computing capability, networking ability and they were storing the information. Devices are hosts, they are servers themselves. So, all these developments have generated an environment which has facilitated us with the provision of anywhere, anytime technology popularly known as mobile computing. We have changed or rather we have transformed under the banner of this force known as mobile computing. So, in this paper starting from the first lecture to the last lecture, we will study all the aspects of mobile computing. So, in this module we will have an introduction to the mobile computing and then we will also discuss that what all topics which we will be covering in this particular paper. So, what is mobile computing? Mobile computing is a paradigm of computing which is expected to revolutionize the way computers are used. So, in this module we will be having introduction to mobile computing, characteristics of mobile computing environment, that is which type of environment we will call a mobile computing environment, what are the entities which it together integrate to form a mobile computing environment, the standards, what is their use and what are the agencies which develop and maintain these standards. And then finally, we will discuss the overview of this paper mobile computing, that is what all we will be covering in this paper. So, let us look at the formal definition of mobile computing. Mobile computing is a set of geographically or temporally distributed computing systems. You can see that these keywords have been highlighted on your slide. What do you mean by geographically or temporally distributed? That means the devices or the users or the networks are at different places and at different times they are distributed, and not only the people or the devices, the service providers, the servers that participate, connect and synchronize through mobile communication protocols forms a mobile computing environment. So, the goal of a mobile computing environment is to provide decentralized computations because it is distributed at different places at different times on diversified devices, like you can have a computing device or you can have a communication device, systems and networks which are mobile, synchronized and interconnected via mobile communication standards and protocols. Mobile computing is an umbrella term used to describe technologies that enable people to access network services any place, any time, anywhere. So, the prime logo of mobile computing is anywhere, any place, any time. We access the services which we are connected. Now, the mobile computing technology has got different names in the context in which it is used. So, the other names for this technology are, it is also known as ubiquitous computing, which refers to the blending of computing devices with the environmental objects, empowering them with computing capability. You send an SMS through your mobile to switch on your AC, that is ubiquitous computing. Pervasive computing, existing in all parts of a place or a thing. The literal meaning of pervasiveness is existing in all parts of a place or a thing. So, pervasive computing is a next generation of computing in which information and communication technology is used everywhere by everyone at all the times. I am having a lunch at a restaurant, at the same time I am also observing the score of cricket match taking between the taking place at a distance location. The third synonym is a nomadic computing. That is this is a very interesting name and it is used in a very special context. What do you mean by nomads? Nomads are those places which moves from one place to another place, but they settle down for a while. So, for the time being where they are settled down, they are stationary. So, here also, like suppose you are accessing something on your laptop. So, for the time being when you are stationed with your laptop at a particular place, you are stationary, but you can carry your laptop to other place and then you are mobile. So, in this context it is known as nomadic computing. What type of environment we will call a mobile computing environment? When I say about mobile computing, does it only mean that a user is moving or does it only mean that a device is moving? It is far more than this. Let us look at any environment would be called a mobile computing environment if it adheres to the following characteristics. First, user mobility, that is user accesses the services while on move. You have created a PowerPoint presentation at your office, you are at home and at the same time you are able to access the same PowerPoint presentation at your home using the same application. That is, you are moving from one place to another place, yet you are able to access the service. Next is network mobility. This type of mobility can be seen in two contexts. First, when the user moves from one network to another network, accessing the service seamlessly. What does that mean? You are at your college, you are using the Ethernet of your college to connect your laptop, right? And then you go at home, you connect your laptop via your Wi-Fi network. Again you go to your friend's place, you connect your laptop via the hotspot provided by your friend. So, what does it mean? You are moving from one network to another network, yet you are using the services. The other type of situation is when the network itself is moving. This is the case of mobile ad hoc networks. In mobile ad hoc network, every node of the network is a host as well as it is a router. So, when it is moving from one place to another place, the host is moving as well as the routers are moving and the routing tables are updated. So, the typical example of MANETs are the vehicular ad hoc networks, when the vehicles when moving from one location to another location, like suppose a few vehicles are going on a highway. So, they can form an ad hoc network among themselves for the purpose of exchanging some messages between the people who are sitting in the vehicle, or setting the alarm in case an accident is about to happen, and many more things. The third type of mobility is the bearer mobility, that is user uses the same services while switching the bearer. What is meant by bearer? Bearer is something which provides or supports the data. Now, some of the common bearers are the wireless application protocol, that is WAP, SMS is one of the bearer, voice is one of the bearer, and many more. Like now, suppose if you are in a particular city where WAP is supported, and then you move to another city where WAP is not supported, and you will be using SMS as the bearer. So, you should be able to access the same service by switching these bearers. This is what is meant by bearer mobility. Next is of course the device mobility, that is using the same service while switching from one device to another. You access your email on your laptop. At the same time, you also access your email on your mobile phone. Session mobility. User session should be able to move from one user agent environment to other. Like suppose on your mobile phone, you have started a session using your Internet Explorer. Now, suppose you are in an area where the mobile phone gets out of coverage. Okay. So, what you will be doing? Suppose you now you enter another environment where you have the connectivity back, and now you again open that application, the session should be continued. So, this is what is meant by session mobility. Host mobility, that the user should be allowed to have different roles. As we said that now the devices are also empowered with the storage capacity. So, they can be host, they can be server. So, both these roles should be supported, and when the device switches from a server role to a host role, that is what is meant by host mobility. Agent mobility. What is a user agent? By which, or the application by which you access the software of a particular device. They can be your browsers, they can be your crawlers. Right. So, these can be allowed to move from one node to another node. It is what is meant by agent mobility. So, we have seen that not only the devices moving or the users moving contribute to the mobile computing environment. Many things which are mobile in the mobile computing environment. Now, let us look at the entities which form the mobile computing environment. The first and the foremost is of course the user device. Now, what is a user device? When I talk about device, I am talking both of the hard part of the device as well as the soft part. A device can be a communicating device or it can be a computing device, but actually any task which is performed is by the by a device which plays both the roles at the same time. You take information via internet, you use that information and you manipulate it on your device, that is your phone through which you are getting connected to the internet is acting as a communicating device. At the same time you are performing some calculations on your phone. So, it is also acting as a computing device. And the soft part of the device are the user agents or the software part, for example, your browsers or the crawlers, right. So, the devices can be divided into two categories, computing devices and the communication devices. Examples of computing devices are computers, mobile phones. Mobile phones I have placed in both the categories. They can be computing device, at the same time they can be communicating device. Laptops, PDAs, palm top computers, all are computing devices, whereas the communicating devices are the telephones, your mobile phones, digital TV, pagers and so on. Next entity is the dialog control. Any user dialog can be in one of the two states, session oriented or sessionless. For example, and that depends on what type of device I am using and what different modes of inputs are available for that particular device. Like say suppose I have got a phone which does not have the support for internet connectivity and I am only getting the access to the SMS. Now I want to see the balance of my bank account. So what I can do is that nowadays banks are supporting mobile banking. You can simply send a SMS and you will get your balance. So this type of dialogue is a sessionless dialogue. It is for short term, right? But now suppose I have a mobile phone or a laptop where I can where I have a browser and where I will type the URL of the bank. I will log in into my bank account, I will provide my bank details, I will put a query that I want to see my account, I will get the account and then I will log out. So, all these things are session oriented and hence it is a long term. So, what is the difference between the two? The difference between the two is that in one method I simply sent the SMS and I got the response, that was sessionless. And why did I do that? Because I had no modes of input on the mobile phone other than just sending the SMS through my keyboard. Whereas in the laptop I had the facility of typing the URL, using the browser and so on. So, I used a session oriented dialogues. Dialogues are of two types, session oriented and sessionless. As we just saw, session oriented are long whereas sessionless are short. Session oriented dialogues are generally used for devices where input modes are more, whereas sessionless is used where the input modes are less. The next and the most important entity in any mobile computing environment is the networks. Now, when I talk about networks, it can be anything. It can be your PSTN network by which you are making a call using a fixed landline phone. It can be a GSM network which is supported worldwide and which your mobile phone uses. It can be a Bluetooth, it can be Wi-Fi, anything. So, basically we divide the networks into four categories: a fixed network or the wired network, which is laid down in a particular city with the help of cables or wires. It covers generally a large area and these type of networks are generally the public networks, like your digital subscriber line, that is DSL, or your PSTN network or your cable network or your wire telephone network and so on. The other category is the wireless networks which communicate themselves wirelessly, like your GSM, CDMA, Docomo, all are examples of wireless networks. Now, these wireless networks can be of two categories: infrastructure based and the ad hoc networks. Infrastructure based, in which there is a central governing body known as access point through which all the devices interact, whereas in ad hoc network they are temporary networks for time being. Okay. So, they do not have any infrastructure, they do not have any access point, they just the devices just ad hocly communicate with each other. So, examples of infrastructure based networks are your Wi-Fi, whereas the ad hoc networks are your Bluetooth or the mobile ad hoc networks and so on. The another category of networks are the bearer networks. So, again that will depend on what type of devices and network is being used, the bearers are different. For example, HTTP, WAP, phone, voice, SMS, all are different types of bearers. So, you can just have a look at the list of examples under the different categories of networks. So, in the fixed network you have broadband networks over DSL line, I just mentioned, cables, PSTN, satellites. Interestingly, satellites are under fixed networks. Why? Because they are used as a part of infrastructure. Internet backbone, that is Ethernet, is of course a fixed network. In wireless, you have PCS, personal cellular systems, AMPS, advanced mobile phone system, GSM, CDMA, Docomo, GPRS, WLL, PLMN, right, the mobile network. And why it is known as public land mobile network? Because the main backbone of these type of networks is wired. Ad hoc networks, Bluetooth, IEEE 82.11, IRDA, VANETs, MANETs, all are examples of ad hoc networks. Bearers, HTTP, TCP IP, SMS, USSD, unstructured supplementary service data, WAP, voice, all are examples of bearer networks. Next entity is middleware. Middleware is a software entity between a application or the operating system or between a device or a application. Now, every soft or the hard part in the mobile computing environment behaves differently, right. So, to maintain the communication between these, middlewares are used. So, middleware is a software entity between user application, operating system or between application and device. The middlewares can be categorized into 3 categories: communication middleware, transaction processing middleware and behavior management middleware. Communication middlewares are like connectors which are used for different services, like for TN3270 for IBM mainframe services, Java mail connector for IMAP and POP3 services are being used. Transaction processing middleware, these are the types of middleware which convert the session oriented dialogues to sessionless dialogues. As we just saw in the previous section that the user dialogues can be of 2 types, session oriented and sessionless. Generally what happens is that maybe on the interface side or the user interface side the dialogue can be sessionless, but at the backbone or at the back end session oriented is being supported. So, to provide the interface between these 2 types of dialogues, transaction oriented middlewares are being used. Behavior management middleware, different devices have different behavior. So, to manage device specific rendering at runtime independent of the application, behavior management middleware are being used. The next entity is the gateways. Now, gateways are again the mediators, or they provide the support of switching between the bearers. For example, like IVR system. Okay. IVR system is what? You interact with the computer using the phone. Now, the keyboard of the phone you are using and you are typing a certain keys according to the instruction, and then it is getting recorded into the computer. So, such type of interfaces are known as gateways. So, what are the 2 bearers which are being used? The voice and the internet. So, gateways are the interface between different bearers or networks with dissimilar protocols. The example I just mentioned, IVR gateway between voice and computers, or WAP between HTTP and mobile phone. So, WAP gateway is used to provide the internet facility on the mobile phones. The most important part or the most important entity is the content itself. The content can be anything. It can be data, it can be information, it can be an application, it can be a service, it can be a place where the application and services are stored, that is your content or the origin servers. And when I talk about data, when I talk about service, it can be different in different context. For example, at office I might be using a MIS. So, for that particular context, my data is the business related data. Now, I go at home, I want to book a ticket for a movie. So, there in that respect, my data can be a location based data, or querying the server of the cinema hall to access which seats are available or not. So, I cannot say that the data or the information used is static for a specific user. It might vary from one user to it might vary from a context to context, from place to place and from time to time for a particular user. Now, the most important entity in any mobile computing environment is the content. Content can be anything, applications are content, services are content, data is content as well as the information is content. The place where the application and services are stored are also content, that is your application servers or your content servers or your origin servers. Now, talking about data or the content, this content is different in different context for different users. Like suppose I am at home, I want to book a ticket for a movie. So, in that context my content will be the information related to that movie. I go to office, I open a MIS system, now my content will be a business related content. I want to see the nature of weather surrounding me. So, I will use an application which provides me with the weather information. In that context, the content will be the information provided by the weather. So, let us see the types of applications which are available in the mobile computing environment, because that is the most important content which is available. Right. So, basically applications are what? Applications are a software or the features which provide you with some functionality or with some features or with some facility. So, depending on what type of data or what type of functionality the application is provided, some categories of applications have been identified, which I will be representing here. But just that these categories are not a very exhaustive categories. I have just outlined some of the categories and the list of applications which are available in these categories. Let us look at them one by one. First category is the personal category. Your Paytm, reminders, organizers, applications which provide remote monitoring, like of remote monitoring of your house sitting at office, then tour organizers, home designs, all these are under personal category. Then you have a transaction oriented applications which involve the transactions. So, those are mobile shopping applications, mobile banking which are supported by many of the banks, your bill payments, all are transaction oriented applications. Then perishable applications, that is they provide the information for the time being or which is recent, like your news, weather forecast, stock updates, sports updates, these all can be categorized into perishable applications. Location specific applications which uses the lat long or the location of the user to provide the services, it is your navigation, location tracking, bookings of cabs, etc., which uses your location, can be categorized as location specific applications. Then the corporate applications, business alerts, mails, applications for ERPs, applications for MIS, virtual offices, all these can be categorized into corporate applications. You have the entertainment application, that is chatting application. I do not need to list about themselves, you know better than me. Social networking applications, interactive games. Now, I just said that these categories are not very exhaustive, these are just symbolic categorization, and I have just listed down some of the examples of applications under these categories. Government applications, the public announcements, the applications which have supported e-governance and m-governance, tax payment, complaint booking, citizen reporter, when any citizen can use its mobile phone, it can act as a reporter using that particular application, that particular citizen can send any information to the government agency. Then the scientific applications, like with the help of a mobile phone, you measure the water quality, you measure the wind speed, there are virtual laboratories available in the form of applications, there are simulators available, and the citizen science, that is the citizens are acting as the scientist by using those applications and collecting the real time updated databases. So, this was about some of the categories of applications which are the most important content available for mobile computing environment. Now, as we said that mobile computing environment is a diversified environment. Every device is behaving differently. Every technology is behaving differently. So, how to maintain the synchronization among these diversified entities so that they communicate amongst themselves seamlessly. We know that, like suppose in a hall different peoples are sitting and they are talking in different languages. So, how will they communicate amongst themselves? We have to decide upon one language in which all the people will speak and which is understood by all. That is what is meant by standard. So, there are guidelines, right, and every device or every service provider has to adhere on these standards so that everything can be streamlined. And one of the most important advantage of any standard is the interoperability. As I just said that a GSM device should be able to interact with the Bluetooth device. So, there needs to be some mechanisms which should be followed, right. So, this is done with the help of standards. So, what are standards? Standards are documented agreements containing technical specifications or criteria to be used as. Now, what are they? They are rules, guidelines or definitions of these categories. Now, any material, any product, any process, any service provider should comply with these guidelines, right. Now, suppose it says that GSM operates on a particular frequency. So, all the devices which wants to be part of the GSM network should function on these particular frequencies. So, these guidelines can be the hard guidelines, they can be the soft guidelines, they are in the form of the white papers which are provided by the industry or by the devices or the consortiums which invented these particular standards. Now, who are the people who design these standards? They can be the government agencies, they can be industries, they can be professional institutes. Now, let us look at some of the examples of the bodies which defines and maintains these standards. What I have done is that I have just listed down the names of these standards. Now, when these standards were formed, what is the functions of these standards, in which country or in which continent these standards are formed, what are the special features of these particular standards, who are the stakeholders or beneficiaries or who are the devices or the technology which uses these standards. This whole detail you can see in your e-text. So, for here time being I will just provide you with the list of the agencies which forms or which maintains these standards. So, one is ISO, International Organization for Standardization. Let us have a quick look. IETF, Internet Engineering Task Force, ETSI, European Telecommunication Standard Institute, OMA, Open Mobile Alliance, IEEE Standards Association, IEA, Electronic Industries Alliance, WWWC or WWC, Worldwide Web Consortium, 3GPP, ANSI, American National Standard Institute, UMTS, Universal Mobile Telecommunication System, Bluetooth Consortium, CDMA Consortium, PKCS, Public Key Cryptography Standards, PAM Forum, Presence and Availability Management, DCT, Digital Enhanced Cordless Communication, WiMAX, TTA, Telecommunication and Technology Association, Wi-Fi Consortium, ARIB, Association of Radio Industries and Business, and DLNA, Digital Living Network Alliance. Let us look at the logos of these important standards: ISO, Wi-Fi, WiMAX, IEEE Standards Association, IETF, CDG, CDMA Development Group, UMTS Forum, Bluetooth Consortium, ETSI, EIA, Electronic Industries Alliance, ANSI, W3C, 3GPP, ARIB, ITU, DEC Forum, OMA and DLNA. as I said that the detailed information about these standards can be found in your e-text. As we said that the mobile computing is an environment which has made our life very simple. It provides you with the services and the connectivity at anywhere, anytime basis, but everything comes with some constraints and some challenges. Let us have a brief look at the constraints of this particular technology. Constraints. The constraints are can be classified into three categories: device constraint, network constraint and mobility constraint. Device constraint, the resources of the devices are limited. What are those resources? In the term of processor speed, storage space, display size, screen resolution and power. The network constraints are the bandwidth is limited, high latency rate, frequent disconnections due to power limitations, limited spectrum and mobility. The constraints due to mobility, performance is highly variable and it depends from location to location. The performance is prone to the losses, mobility makes the this environment of the devices prone to losses due to theft or breaking. The energy resources are only in the form of bandwidth which is available and hence they are finite. The computational resources such as processor speed, memory size and disk capacity are limited because you cannot provide more on the wireless devices, because that will increase the weight, power and the size of the device. So, because of these limitations, these computational resources need to be limited. And one and most important challenge or the constraint is the security. Since the devices in the mobile computing environment are most of them are mobile, the transmission is at the most of the time it is wireless. So, it is prone to the attacks or it is prone to hijacking, it is prone to theft or stealing the information, it is prone to the unauthorized access and so on. So, these all things have to be taken into account. There are lot of research going in this particular area where all these factors are a matter of concern. So, as we discussed or as I mentioned in the at the starting of this lecture, that in this module we will have a brief introduction of what is mobile computing technology, and then we will see that what all things which we will be studying in this particular paper. This is the first lecture and this is a series of 36 lectures till the WAP or the last lecture. So, as I mentioned at the beginning of this lecture that in this module we will be discussing about, we will have an introduction of mobile computing and then we will see that what all we will be covering in this particular paper. So, this paper is a series of 36 lectures. This is the first lecture and let us just see that what all I will be covering in this paper. That will be a very interesting journey. The first lecture or what I have done is that we the whole paper has been organized into three basic categories. The first category in which we will be studying the entities or the protocols corresponding to the OSI model in the wired networks, that is physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer and the application layer. Then we will learning about the networks. We just saw that the networks can be wired, they can be wireless. We will just be learning about the wireless networks in this paper, wireless, that is GSM, CDMA and the ad hoc networks. And then in the third category we will be learning about some of the recent trends which contributes to Internet of Things. So, let us have a quick glance at what all we will be covering in this paper. Talking about the physical layer, we will first see that what is a wireless communication, how the wireless communication is supported, what is the energy used, what are electromagnetic spectrum. Then we will see that what are the frequencies used for different type of wireless communications, like what are the frequencies used for infrared communication, what are the frequencies used in submarine communication or the radar or the Li-Fi technology and so on. That is this is because the whole of the electromagnetic spectrum is not used for wireless communication. Major of the 4 bands, that is the radio band, the microwave, infrared and visible, these 4 bands are used for wireless communication. Then we will learn about the signal propagation effects. What happens when a signal travels from the transmitter to the receiver? It encounters many objects, it encounters the atmosphere, it encounters buildings, cars or different objects. Now, every object has got a different effect on that particular signal. So, all these effects we will be learning in the signal propagation effects chapter. Then moving to antennas. Antennas are the devices by which the signal travels from the receiver, from the transmitter to the receiver, that is it couples and decouples energy from and into the atmosphere. So, we learn about what are the types of antennas which are used for mobile computing and wireless communication. The signals need to be modulated. We will learn about the modulation techniques and in detail we will study 2 of the spread spectrum technologies, frequency hopped spread spectrum in which the whole bandwidth is divided into small frequency channels and the transmission jumps from one frequency to another frequency at different time. Then we will learn about direct sequence spread spectrum in which the transmission takes place by embedding a particular chip sequence into the data. We will learn about cellular systems. What are cellular systems? What is the motivation behind the development of cellular system? How cellular systems support frequency reuse? How frequencies are allocated? What are clusters? Then the mathematical concepts behind the clusters and the frequency allocations. So, this is about physical layer. Moving to the data link layer, we will see that why the we learn about the MAC layer. We will see that why the multiple access techniques which are used in the wired environment cannot be used in the wireless environments, and so there is a need to design or to improve the multiple access techniques for the wireless scenario. So, 4 basic multiple access techniques which we will be learning are CDMA, SDMA, FDMA, TDMA and CDMA. SDMA, this is FDMA, sorry, that was TDMA, this is FDMA and CDMA. Then we will study a particular type, special type of algorithm which is known as MAC-A algorithm. We will also study some other multiple access techniques like PRMA, DMA and so on. And moving to the network layer. When we talk about network layer, the common protocols which are used are the internet protocol. We will see that why the IP addresses, when the device moves from one network to another network, the IP address changes. So, the static IP addresses cannot be used in the wireless environment. So, this led to the development of mobile IP technology. We will learn in detail the architecture and functioning of mobile IP technology and cellular IP. So, mobile IP works for slow moving host, whereas cellular IP works for fast moving host. We will also learn about DHCP, that is a protocol which is used for automatically assigning the IP addresses to the host which are on move. Mobile IP, DHCP, cellular IP. Then talking about the transport layer. So, in a series of lectures which will be dealing with the separate algorithms which needs to be designed for the wireless environment, we will see that the most important protocol which is used for transport layer is the TCP, and we cannot directly replicate the standard TCP in the wireless communication environment because it will decrease the throughput, because TCP understands only the congestion to be the result of packet loss and hence it goes into slow start. So, if it is directly replicated to the wireless communication where there are other reasons for the packet loss other than the congestion, so it will drastically reduce the performance. So, there is a need to develop different protocols which are optimized for the wireless scenario. So, under this head we will be learning about the different techniques or the different protocols which have been proposed and which are optimized for wireless communication. And then we will see mobility at application layer. We will learn about the wireless application protocol. Then moving to networks, we will learn about the telecommunication standards from 1G to 5G. We will see the evolution of the telecommunication standards or the voice standards from 1G to 5G. We will look at the strength and limitations of each and the what led to the development of these telecommunication standards. We will learn about the global network, that is GSM, GPRS, CDMA, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, mobile ad hoc networks, that is in which the devices ad hocly communicate with each other, mobile sensor networks, where the different types of sensors can be employed on different environmental objects and together they form a network. We will learn about satellite communications. So, under the networks category we will learn all these things. And at the last we will learn about some of the recent trends in mobile computing environment. One of the upgrowing technologies or the upgrowing trends are Li-Fi, where the Li-Fi is a very interesting technology and very promising technology in which you provide data communication using the light sources, or it is a form of optical communication. There is the light sources by modulating the information and by modulating these light sources in a particular on off pattern, the data is transferred. Then you have RFID, those are a particular tags which are employed on different objects and the readers which reads the identity of these tags. We will learn about WiMAX, which is used in metropolitan area network, then UWB. We learn about ZigBee, a technology used for home automation, and as I just mentioned RFID, that is there is a antenna on a tag and then you have a reader. The tags can be the identity of the tag is read by the reader once they come in contact with each other. The example can be like on a toll booth, instead of now paying the getting down and paying the toll amount to the person sitting there, you simply have to take out your RFID employed card and you have to swipe that card over the RFID reader and the toll will be extracted from your bank account. So, these all things we will be covering in this particular paper. So, let us hope that you will have a very interesting journey with all of us. Welcome to the mobile computing environment, or welcome to the world of mobile computing. I hope you will enjoy all the lectures in this series of 36 lectures. Have a good day.